Well, work is that by which man earns his daily bread, and above all, contributes to the moral and cultural development of society.
And I think John Paul II gives some very good thoughts on it. He definitely poses the argument that technology is good insofar as it helps man accomplish his work in a better way. But then John Paul II poses the other side of the argument, which is to say that it can become his enemy, technology, insofar as it supplants him in that work, displaces man.
If you view all of work as this thing that is filled with toil and hardship, it's therefore bad because you are comfort seeking, and so comfort means happiness and discomfort means unhappiness, then you're going to view any sort of toil as something that's bad.
Yeah.
Right? It's bad. It's not a avenue for growth. It's not an area where you can grow in virtue. Whereas the Catholic and Christian worldview is that it's precisely through these challenges that we're able to become better.
What are we talking about today?
We are going to be going back to Laborem Exercens. We're reading the second part on work and man. And Sean, you have some interesting ideas here. Welcome to the Ord Life podcast. Well, after saying we wouldn't
have too long of banter,
we're at 13 minutes. Nice.
Yeah, that's a nice time.
You know what? I think we'll leave this banter uncut. We'll throw it in, but maybe in our intro, we'll just mention, if you don't want the banter in these podcasts, skip to around 13 minutes in. I'm very happy to go straight into
the topic.
Although people are consistent with their banter, that's always and that's what people seem to enjoy too.
Really?
Yeah, they do. I get some people like, hey, great banter on whatever, like coffee. It would be like, what other banter talks about? Like Lego was a cool one.
I feel like I cut a lot of banter. Otherwise,
you cut a lot of banter.
Yeah. There's like every single podcast I feel like I'm cutting like 5 to 10 minutes of banter.
Totally fine. I have no problem with that.
But also, as like I enjoy. Was it?
I think just the fact that it's
the Good Catholic podcast, the one that we used to listen to.
Good Money.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's another one where they just had a lot of banter.
Oh, Catholic Stuff You Should Know.
Yes, I love their banter.
Oh, the banter was great. But it was very divisive. As they would comment, they would say, half the people comment and say, we love the banter. Half the people would say, stop doing this.
Really?
Go right to the topic.
What team were you on?
I enjoyed both. Okay. The banter and the topic. Yeah.
I guess for me is like, 10 minutes of banter is nice, maybe 8. Yeah. But like when it went to like half the podcast,
on Catholic Stuff You Should Know, Father John, he's very choleric. So he'd have a timer going like, and we're at 10 minutes, banter over.
Well, we can get the audience to respond. Write us an email at info@serviumcapital.ca.
Was it podcast@serviumcapital.ca?
No, it's info at.
It's info at.
Yeah. Or just go to YouTube and write in the comments there.
Okay. That's a nice
try
plug.
And check those. AJ will do it.
I was going to nominate Anthony. You beat me to it. Cool. Hey, you're going to the in-arena viewing party for the Canucks.
Yeah. How often do they do that?
This is the first time they're doing it that I recall outside of playoff season. During playoff season, they had it, but it seems like the first. So which game are you watching again? Like
Anaheim.
Anaheim.
Yeah.
Oh, Anaheim's a tough team this season.
Well, the Canucks are also not great this year.
Well, what's your opinion? Is Hughes getting traded? This is now a sports podcast, apparently.
Yeah, apparently. I'll be honest, I don't have a informed enough opinion.
Yeah.
The number of mornings that my dad and I would be driving into school and we'd turn on the radio and it was the Canucks lost again last night for the entire year. And then the Canucks are making a push for the playoffs, even though there's these great draft prospects, only to just miss the playoffs and get left with no draft prospect.
Oh.
I think it happened like 3-4 years in a row. And I'm like, this team is just not, like, it's so tough to actually be a Canucks fan.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm persevering.
I am a fan. Don't get me wrong, but I don't watch much sports in general, but I'll like playoffs are when I become much more of a fan of anything. And personally, I just do not have
because it's real stakes and like.
Did you do the season tickets this year?
Yeah, I did. I did do the season tickets.
How many do you keep?
I don't
just
keep
the home
all
games.
of them. Well, that's all 42-ish. Yeah. I think with Val and myself, probably we try to attend like one game a month if we do go, but usually I sell off quite a few of them. Yeah, or help out friends who are.
Any troubles in the ticket selling market this year?
This year a little bit more so, I presume, is because
they're not doing as well.
Yeah, they're not doing as
well.
well.
Do you do it yourself, or is it just through Ticketmaster?
No, it's only it's through the Ticketmaster platform. If you go outside of that, I think they frown upon that. So I try to stay in their good graces. But the cool thing is, I'm going to be able to take one of the perks. Now, this is a pitch for like the Canucks, apparently. But one of the perks is you get to meet the team once a year, and so it's happening next week on Tuesday. So I'll be dipping out of the office a little earlier to take my daughter to meet.
Do you think they will remember meeting you from last year?
No. No. There's a sea of people. Yeah. Yeah, I think if there's an opportunity to meet, like I love Sherwood.
Yeah.
He's awesome. Lankinen would be cool to meet too.
Yeah.
But we'll see. When's the last time you've been to a hockey game, Sean?
Game 7, Canucks versus Dallas.
Okay.
2009?
Wow.
2010?
You're overdue.
No, hold on. Earlier than that. 2005 or 2006. One of those two. And they won.
Oh,
wow.
That's Game 7. And this is the quarterfinals or semifinals? I think it was quarterfinals. Yeah, it was intense. It was awesome. And then being downtown after, and people are the opposite of rioting, or maybe rioting out of joy with no one burning cars.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah. And this was before the riot.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, it's not true. No. I did go to one 2 years ago, and my dad got tickets, and it was your seat and then the glass.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
Those are good seats.
I have never sat that close before, right? It was a totally different experience where you can see their faces. You can see the mouth. You can even hear them shouting at each other, as opposed to like looking at the tops of their helmets and reading the numbers or whatever. Like looking into their eyes and watching them play, it was totally different.
Would you recommend?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah?
Oh, absolutely. If you can get them for free like I did, definitely.
That is a good point. Have I told you guys what my concert going experience is?
No. When's the last one you've been to then?
The Who.
The Who. Okay.
Yeah. So I've been to one or two others. But in terms of concerts that I've been to at BC Place, I've been able to see U2, Zach Bryan, and The Who for a combined total cost of $120.
Oh, that's like super reasonable given today's ticket prices.
And extremely good seats as well for all of them. Mm-hmm. U2 I was able to see when they came in 2016. That was, my parents paid for it $60. Got to see Zach Bryan for free because I had a friend who was in one of the booths, and that was just unreal on him. And then got Who tickets for $60, and the tickets right behind us were I think $150. Wow! So I was very happy with that.
That's cool.
AJ, what's the best concert you've been to, or just some of the concerts you've been to?
So I'm the era of the 90s. I love old school R&B and like things that bend towards that. So to answer your question, Bruno Mars, before he became big, I went to his very first 2 concerts. And I love him because that sounds a little bit weird. I love him. I'm such a fanboy.
You meant to say you enjoy his music.
I enjoy his music thoroughly.
No. You do love him. Edit that out, Anthony.
Third row center.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was still a smaller venue before his second one, which was 24 Karat Magic or whatever, I forget what album was. But his second album, his sophomore album, and it was a bigger following. But I like sitting in front because I am vertically challenged, and so being closer to the front allows me to actually see the stage.
Nice.
Yeah, as opposed to further back. How about you? What's your most memorable concert?
First concert I ever went to was AC/DC.
Oh, you guys are...
Really?
Wow.
Huh?
And I was 13.
Wow.
And it was inappropriate. I mean, it was awesome at the time. I was great. I enjoyed it. In hindsight, probably should not have sent a 13-year-old to that concert. I might have even been 12. Might even been younger than that. Yeah, I was probably 12.
Were you a fan of AC/DC at that age?
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Yeah.
Cool.
More so less so the music being inappropriate, more so the accompanying music videos that went along with them in the background. But the pyrotechnics were awesome.
I'm sure they were.
They had these giant cannons. And anyway. And Angus Young, I think his name's Angus Young, the guitarist, amazing guitar solo. Yeah, I remember that. I won't forget that. I saw Aerosmith.
That's a good band.
I saw... probably my favorite concert I've actually been to was the Black Keys.
Really?
That was actually pretty recent, maybe 2016, 17, something like that. And it was at the, not BC Place, but what's that old stadium by the Peony Fairgrounds?
No, the Peony?
No. It's where the Giants used to play.
Yes.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Something.
I drove by it this morning.
Yeah.
The Coliseum.
The Coliseum,
There we go.
which is a great place to see a concert.
Yeah.
And I don't think they had like the seats filled. Everyone was on the floor. And then, stage. But there's almost no bad seat because they're up high for the vertically challenged.
Right.
And then everyone's like packed in pretty good. Yeah, that was good. That was a good concert. Although my greatest regret is that I was with my brother. We left early to avoid the traffic. We missed the second encore, which
my
was
goodness.
the song I had been hoping to hear that they never played. Didn't think they'd play.
Okay.
Little Black Submarine. I don't know if you know that. It's good. It's a good song. We saw Ed Sheeran. Danielle is a fan. Before he was like really...
He's coming again soon.
Crazy famous?
I think. He's coming to Seattle.
Really?
In not too terrible future.
Yeah. I will confess, I did go to a Taylor Swift concert.
Oh, no.
Before
I
it
didn't
was
put you on a Swiftie.
No, I was not. I'm not. Daniela was a fan. And this was like before it was crazy. Before she had her own micro economy that followed her. Like tickets were $100. They weren't crazy.
Yeah.
That's cool that she was a fan early in her career.
I think Daniela was a fan when she was still a country singer.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Before the other stuff. Ed Sheeran opened for her.
Oh,
yes.
okay, yeah.
That's early.
Yes. Yeah, it was a long time ago. It was... We weren't even married then. We were still dating. So it was more than 10 years ago.
Very cool.
And then we saw Ed Sheeran again, I think the next summer. He played in West Van at an outdoor stage.
Huh.
And the people he had opening for him was this band called Rudimental. And it was very much club sort of music. And lots of flashing lights and lots of like hype men on the stage and lots of people, lots really busy. And I'm sure in a dark, tightly packed, enclosed environment.
With glow sticks.
Yeah. And maybe you're under the influence of something. I'm sure it would have been great. But at this outdoor stage in daylight.
Yeah.
And these like, I don't know the proper term, West Van type of people. It did not go over well at all. And Danielle and I still have an inside joke about Rudimental. Anyway, actually, he was good. Actually, Ed Sheeran is really...
He's talented.
He's incredibly talented. But it's just one man on the stage, and he does the loops. And so he does it all with his voice and guitar. It's extremely impressive to see in person and to see it happen in the moment. Yeah.
Because you get to appreciate his creative process.
Yeah, or just
creating music.
There's a difference between a manufactured piece of music in a music studio that sounds the way it does, and then watching someone create it in the moment with the original tracks, all himself, all coordinating these different loops and whatever, and building the layers one at a time and seeing it evolve, and not having to like go back and I didn't do that one well enough, like just rolling with it, and it's extremely impressive. What are we talking about today, Anthony?
We are going to be going back to Laborem Exercens. We're reading the second part on work and man. And Sean, you have some interesting ideas here.
You're on the spot.
There's so much in it. These are not my ideas. I'm going to 100% regurgitate only the interesting pieces that we were reading. But okay, so first of all, let's talk about this idea of man's dominion over the earth, subduing it, becoming master of the earth, using the resources that the earth contains and can be discovered for use of his own ends. Just that idea. Mastering the earth, dominion over the resources, and the nature of work. Did you guys have any thoughts that came out of that?
I mean, one of the first things that comes to mind is obviously that's how you have the scientific revolution, right? The idea that God created an ordered universe and created man in his own image. Therefore, the universe is intelligible. And because of this line in scripture, we should try and understand it. And it is explainable. And that's where we get the premises of the scientific method from and how we have science in the first place. So I think that's actually a very, very, very interesting point, is that, yeah, it's not as though like nature is this deity that we should not be trying to experiment with or we shouldn't touch it. It's like, no, like we have this ability to interact with nature, to work with it, to discover these things, and to, as it gets into later, like create technologies that help us in our work, create things that make things more efficient. One of the first examples brought up is agriculture, just to be able to domesticate animals and what that did for society and how that enables society to flourish and help people to focus on these higher things. Because going back to that first definition of what is work, well, work is that by which man earns his daily bread and, above all, contributes to the moral and cultural development of society. So, yeah, you're able to domesticate animals, you're able to make your life easier in some ways. And I think the easiness versus toil of work we'll get into later in this podcast, because I think that's a really interesting point that is brought up, I think, in the 5th section here. But yeah, no, just this idea that you can understand the world and it is good for you to understand it and to act on that, I think is a very fantastic thing.
I think it's a controversial idea in today's world.
Oh, 100% it is, yeah.
I think that people have this negative view or connotation or lament the idea of extracting the Earth's resources, right? Building a mine and people protest it, or the idea of logging a forest, or the idea of pulling the oil out of the ground and those things. Yeah, there's a large segment and growing segment of society that says we should never do any of those things. Mm. But they're looking past this truth, which is it is there to be used, and it is there for us to find it and use it for some useful ends, not wastefully, and not to do that extraction in a careless way, to do it responsibly. But that is what it is there for.
I have two thoughts on that, because I 100% agree. I think it's funny that people do protest this and then post about it on social media with their phones that have, material from however many different countries. I think it's interesting that us in the first world will make these contentions, even though there's people in the third world who are subject to working in these mines where they have virtually zero labor rights or environmental protection things. But I think the very interesting thing is that people have material needs. And so this isn't an excuse to say, oh, just like go and like rape the earth of whatever we can get out of it. But it's to say, no, people have material needs, and as material beings, or material and soul, like we do have material needs that need to be looked after. And so there is a best way to do this and to look after this. But I think, yeah, Sean, to your point, just to say like, no, we shouldn't be doing any of that. It's going to end up logically with people not having things that they need. And I think it's especially ridiculous for us in the first world to be protesting against natural resource extraction when it's done well in a caring way, when people in the third world don't have a fraction of what we have. And to say that, no, we're not going to do this, because chances are it's probably going there, and that's where a lot of the stuff is getting developed.
Yeah. Well, if you're not going to use less of it, but you don't want it done in your own backyard, it means more of it has to come from somewhere else.
Exactly. Where it's
and
going
that
to be
somewhere
done
else
in
is going to be
a
done
careless way. Right. It's going to be done in a way that does not at all respect the dignity and value of human life. And I think
the earth, or the
yeah, and that's the irony of it, is that like, why does the earth have value? It's, well, on our worldview, it's because man's life has value, right? It's not a thing that has value in itself. It has value insofar as it's being entrusted to man, which I think is very clear in this encyclical. And we'll get into work and the importance of what work has to do with that. We've already started to get into it.
And just to piggyback on that idea of that work being done in a place where workers are paid a fair wage for the work they do, that there are workplace standards to keep people safe, and that there are standards in how we deal with the byproducts of the mining process, which doesn't, monitoring and standards of tailing ponds and all those sorts of things that limit or prevent to a higher degree those things polluting a water supply, going to a river, more of that work should be done in a place where those high standards are kept, and less of it should be done in a place where they're not.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of how you'd mentioned earlier in terms of science and reasoning attribute to the discussion. I think it's important for us to understand the world.
Yeah, 100%.
And understand it well, to the point where if we are going to extract resources, again, to your point, Sean, to do it well and not to create a negative outcome excessively, which can happen in these third world countries where they're not respecting the resources that are granted to us, not to squander what's been given to us as a resource.
It's the via media, right? That the truth is in the middle. One reaction to seeing things done poorly is to say we shouldn't do them at all.
Right.
Yeah.
As opposed to saying, no, we should still do them, but we should just do them well.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even at that, like the fact that we have good enough disclosure or good enough reporting that's able to say, hey, these things actually aren't done very well. Like that's a very good thing, because at least you have transparency in that process when it comes to things in the first world, because there's 100% issues in the third world that we never hear about. And so if you go to, and this is like maybe a mini shout out to an organization like International Justice Mission, you look at the working conditions of some people in major countries that they're working in, and this stuff is terrible, but you never hear about it. Why? Because they have zero transparency, because they don't have a developed enough economy to merit the need to say, hey, children are being exploited here, right? And we're so far removed from it that we don't see it. It's not as close or developed, and don't have those checks and balances to have a system that enables transparency. Right. So I think it's actually very good when you kind of see, hey, these people went wrong, and people divest from a company that does that. But yeah, Sean, to your point, it by no means, I think, justifies just saying, well, we shouldn't do any resource extraction at all. It's like, well, no, like if you're not doing it here, well, we have like a lot of money to invest in really good equipment where people don't have to be doing it themselves, then it's going to be done in a third world country where you're putting kids down holes and giving them dynamite.
Yeah, and then you're prioritizing profit over people.
Exactly. Yeah, and like I think that's one of the big gripes that happens here. It's like, oh, you're prioritizing profit over the environment. It's like, well, it can be done at its worst. It can be done, but that's going to be done no matter what, because that's not an issue with resource extraction. That's an issue with people, and that comes back to, well, what is the human person? And we'll talk more about that in terms of what does work have to do with the dignity of the human person. But again, above all, work is meant to contribute to the cultural and moral development of societies which people live in. So if work takes away from that, then work isn't just a means of transaction. It's meant to be more than that. It's not a either or, it's a both and.
How much time are we on?
25 minutes.
Is that an episode right there? Just on that one section 5?
Really? Yeah. We
said
could
25
probably,
minutes. I don't know.
Yeah.
We could keep going, but like break it up.
Yeah, half of it is banter.
It's banter. That's right.
Yeah.
And you're gonna cut 90% of the banter. You said.
No. I said I'll keep the banter for this one.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
The one reminder in part 2 was speaking of the importance of work and the importance of in which how work provides dignity for the human person. And then later on, it kind of introduces technology and its proper use. What did you guys think about that particular section?
Which one? The technology one?
Yeah, well, both, I guess.
Well, the technology one,
I think it's very appropriate.
Extremely appropriate in our current artificial intelligence revolution of society. And I think John Paul II gives some very good thoughts on it. Well, he just read a few quotes where he says, technology is undoubtedly man's ally. It facilitates his work, perfects, accelerates, and augments, leads to an increase in quantity of things produced. So he definitely poses the argument that technology is good in this insofar as it helps man accomplish his work in a better way, or in some superior way.
And to your mentioning, it augments man's work to elevate it, to accelerate it.
Yeah. And so the key word augments, but then John Paul II poses the other side of the argument, which is to say that it can become his enemy, technology, insofar as it supplants him in that work. It displaces man.
Which essentially is the argumentation now of AI, in which to replace man in that work.
Well, yeah, it's interesting because when John Paul II is talking about this, he talks about it in the broader context of coming out of a much more manual society and into a much more automated society. And he says this is why we have to really examine what does it mean? Well, what does work mean, right? It's not just this, because especially when you do manual stuff, that's like physical toil that you are having to do. And if you have a very materialistic worldview, then you're trading physical toil for a physical medium of exchange in the form of money, right? So you're doing something that's physically laborious, but then you get something physical in return for it. Great. Now there's more and more automation, and so you're not doing as much physical stuff, and you're not getting maybe as much physical things in return for it. Because, well, why? And I have like a whole idea about work. Like if something can be automated, to force a person to do it reduces the dignity of that person and of the person who created the automation. And I think like we look in that in society, it's like what's like one of the like least dignified forms of work. It's underpaid labor in fields today. Like if you look at people who just are forced to pick things by hand, it's like that's a pretty rough way of needing to work. I love manual labor personally, but as a long-term thing, it's not that great in the body. And if it can be automated, then I think justly it should be, because those people can do different things.
What I think is tough about AI is that it can both augment and help, or it can be used to replace.
Right.
So
And
it's
then
not
creates a
black and white.
dependency unnecessarily so. That creates an element in which now we are not using the dignity, the talents that we have, and leveraging that, and that goes away. It's an element of like you lose what you don't use. So the attributes of just giving AI to do these tasks that you would normally do, that you no longer do, you just kind of lose that ability.
But I guess what I'm saying is that it's not the technology itself that will determine whether it is good or bad. It's the way in which we decide to use it.
Yeah, exactly. And like back to my earlier point, if you view all of work as this thing that is toil and is hard, and because it is filled with toil and hardship, it's therefore bad because you are comfort seeking, and so comfort means happiness and discomfort means unhappiness, then yeah, you're going to view any sort of toil as something that is bad,
yeah.
right?
Okay.
It's bad. It's not a avenue for growth. It's not an area where you can grow in virtue. Whereas the Catholic and Christian worldview is that it's precisely through these challenges that we're able to become better. So, Deshaun, to your point, in how technology is used, 100%, if you are able to use something as a tool to help you out, to better your work, to facilitate, if it's of a higher quality, if it's more output, whatever that is, those are fantastic things. But it's still like you who's using that as a tool. If you are letting technology replace you, then, well, you're the one who's letting it replace you. Like you're going to be, you're basically saying, you don't actually need me. Right, I'm just a medium. I'm a mere medium that facilitates this. Somebody else can do this for me. But the power of technology is that because, well, what am I fully trying to say here? A craftsman who knows how to use his tool well adds value to the tool. Right, if the tool can replace him, then the tool has diminished the craftsman's value. So I think similar with technology and AI, if a person knows how to use AI really well, they've increased their own personal value in terms of how well they're able to work and the output and the quality and all that. But if they're just using AI in a way that replaces them, then the AI has diminished that person's value.
I think what you said is also, I do agree with what you said about if work can be automated, it probably should be.
Yeah.
And I think there is a certain level, like a low level of sort of mindless work, but still needs a person to do it.
Yeah.
That doesn't recognize the full dignity and talents of that person. That there are certain tasks that can and should be automated by AI, like language tasks, like basic, sort of chatbot things. If you're calling into a service center and it's a really low level answer, but you still need someone to pick up the phone and answer it. Like there are things that can and probably should be replaced by AI. And it can be good if that person's being replaced is freed up to do something more suited to their actual talents and their actual capabilities. But as far as that person is displaced and is unemployed forever, like that would be a bad thing, obviously.
Yeah. But I mean, even like when agricultural society was becoming more and more automated, like you had a workforce where 70% of people were working on farms. And now it's a fraction of that. And all these new different jobs have been created from that.
Yeah, and people at the time were scared of this new invention because they couldn't see what was going to happen, and they didn't know what else they were going to do. And similar to now, we don't know what else people are going to do. People who are freed up from this lower level mindless activity, we don't know yet what those people can find to do instead. But every time we've had a technological revolution, all of the horse-drawn carriage drivers eventually figured out other things to do, and all of the ditch diggers eventually learned how to operate the Kubota excavators. Thank you. Right. So there is an evolution, and these technologies do open up new paths for people to take, but we can't see it yet.
Yeah, because we're kind of in a transitionary stage as to what these more efficient uses of human labor talents can be utilized in a different way. So it's like we're kind of in this time of transition.
Yeah.
There's one more quote from John Paul II, and he says, technology can become almost his enemy. When exalting the machine, it reduces man to the status of its slave.
Yeah, I found that one interesting.
How the roles reverse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is man at the service of the machine, or is the machine at the service of man?
This sounds like the beginning of many sci-fi movies.
Yeah.
AJ, turn over your hand. You will find 2 pills.
I think of like have you guys watched the latest Tron?
No.
Oh,
The latest. Watch none of them.
They're the what Tron Ares is just released, and so in effort to want to follow along of this spin-off of the original back in the 80s. Did you watch the original in the 80s?
No,
never.
No,
Okay.
no.
Well, basically, it deals exactly with that dilemma, where essentially, at least from the trailer that I've seen for the most recent version, is that, look, technology can create these replacement humans to go into the world. And then, it's exactly that dilemma where we're at the whim of machine as opposed to the other way around.
Again, I think it goes back to like what your definition and idea of the human person and of human flourishing is. If we're creating the image and likeness of God, and it's our highest purpose to go to heaven, then work is anything that, you earn your daily bread, like you meet your material needs, but fundamentally its highest purpose is to contribute to the moral and cultural development of society.
There's a participation.
Exactly. And so I understand where like all these things kind of come from, but I think it does really make us question, like there has definitely been a period of history of late when you can put all of your stock into material well-being. And that is what capitalism promised, that your value is tied up in physical prosperity. And a lot of people have been able to do pretty well for themselves. The problem with that is that there's not enough for everything to go around. And I think a lot of young people are starting to realize that. And so you have, to a degree, 2 extremes of one of just like the whole system's broken and more of like a communist type route, which is, been the same for about the past 100 years. And then you also have the people who are starting to flock to the faith, people who are very interested in like, no, like what are these bigger questions? Like I realize that all these promises of like, oh, we can buy a home, I can have a nice car.
That classic American dream.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's like you start crunching the numbers and you're like, this is not feasible until I'm like 50. Mm-hmm. And then like people aren't having families because it's too expensive, and there's just been so many different issues with that. I think
when you're unable, restricted from finding that fulfillment in buying a house and start a family and owning 2-car garage and all that kind of stuff, filling your 2-car garage with 2 cars. Then you do begin searching for
and I think even when it comes to like work, but it also comes down to education. Like what are we teaching in schools about personal information, about like are we creating environments where these questions can be asked? And I think we're starting to see a lot of like backlash on some of those ideologies that have gotten into schools as well, here and there. But I hope for the best.
I think that's probably good for this conversation. What do you guys think?
Yeah, part 2.
Yeah, we'll have to.
It'll be part 3 and 4.
This will be part
maybe?
2 of Unknown. But next time we can go on to the nature of manual work and everything else John Paul has to say about that.
Brilliant. Thank you for listening. I'm Anthony.
I'm Sean.
I'm AJ.
Have a good day.
This podcast has been prepared by Sean Gregory, who is a portfolio manager, AJ Sanson, and Anthony De Lazzari, who are associate investment advisors for IA Private Wealth Inc. Opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the portfolio manager and investment advisors only, and do not necessarily reflect those of IA Private Wealth Inc. IA Private Wealth Inc. is a member of the Canadian Investor Protection Fund and the Canadian Investment Regulatory Organization. IA Private Wealth is a trademark and business name under which IA Private Wealth Inc. operates.